All right, Patrick, welcome to Nova University podcast. Can you introduce yourself to the people on the panel and the people that are listening to this podcast right now?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. And everybody on the panel as well. So a little bit about me. I'm a short-term rental investor. I come from a background of working in tech. I'm 26 years old and I've been starting companies since I was 14 years old. That was when I started my first tech company. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So let's hit with the questions. Like let's get it
Nice.
going. I'm hoping I can provide some value and inspiration for some people.
I love it. So at an early age, when did that entrepreneurship, like, did you have family and everything telling you like, hey, do this entrepreneurship stuff, make money? Did you have that growing up?
Honestly, I think what my parents did really well was teach me the value of money. They
Mhm.
weren't necessarily the most affluent. Like we didn't really have that much money growing up, is what I'm trying to say. It
Mhm.
was very middle class. And seeing my dad bust. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, you can.
I see my dad bust his ass every day. I realized, wow, like you're really just a one-man show doing construction, and like you're working so hard and it's great. You're trying to realize this American dream and you're middle class, but I got to do something a little bit different. I got to figure out how to make money work for me, you know? And I definitely saw that at a young age. My parents were always very conservative with their money, and they didn't spend like crazy. They only spent where it should have been spent. And I think I learned that growing up, and I always liked money. And I found money to be not a bad thing. It was a great thing. It was a way to unlock doors and to be free. And the more I realized that over time, the more entrepreneurial I got, not only chasing money, but also I realized I was a really good problem solver. So normally people look at problems and just start complaining. I looked at problems and I was like, what can we do differently?
I love
And
that.
so that was like, it was just like, I mean, it's 10, 15 years of just being in that mindset.
No, that's an awesome mindset. And like you said, at 14, you started making tech companies. So how did you get, first of all, how did you get into tech? And at 14 years old, what were you doing? Like, how did that all
Yeah.
process?
So 13 years old, I was playing video games a lot. I was really passionate about it. I was a nerd. I really liked playing computer games. My parents didn't want to get me any of the systems. I didn't have Xbox or PS, whatever, PlayStation like my friends did. So I decided to do computer games. And that's where I lived. And computer games are so much more competitive for the people that are listening.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I started providing game servers for myself. And then my friends started asking me, and then it scaled from there. I was providing game servers across the whole world, in Amsterdam, in Phoenix, like everywhere. Like I had data centers and basically providing people with server space so that they can play games and be secure.
Where'd you learn how to do all that?
Just I learned it myself while I was going into it, doing it for my own games. And I realized, wow, I can sell this because this is literally setting up full game servers. Is like there's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started scaling that, and I made $40,000 a year doing this. Like it was
Woo!
crazy. Yeah.
Nice. As a 14-year-old?
So 14, yeah. So it probably was worth a lot more at the time as well. I mean, with inflation and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, 14.
And as a as a kid, while you're doing this, what game were you doing this on?
Minecraft was the original one. That was
Okay.
like the big one. And it had its blowing up phase at the time. And I think that's what really pumped it. But I did all sorts of games. I did League of Legends. I did whatever people needed. I made it happen.
Yeah, I don't think of that whenever I come to details. Like I've heard of Minecraft servers, like, hey, you can make a server, but I didn't think
Mhm.
of, oh wait, this can apply to League of Legends, this can apply to other games like that. Because you thought of outside the box. Oh wait, people can play the game, but they don't know where to play the game at. So you
Yeah.
figured that out.
And a lot of people would make a lot of money doing this because people would host donations and things like that and get digital items, and people paid so much money for digital items.
Hmm.
I saw it firsthand. So yeah.
Wow. And then what happened when you were 18? Did you go to college and everything, or what was that decision like? You
Yeah.
obviously you're a grown
So
up phase.
I applied to colleges. And I thought that colleges would look. I mean, my parents never went to college. My parents immigrated here from Poland, so they didn't know any better, and they didn't teach me anything about like what I needed to do. And so I just knew I had to get good grades. But I thought that having a server and doing something that, entrepreneurial and making money in the real world was going to be valuable to these, to these different colleges, but it really clearly wasn't. Like, they didn't really care about that. They looked at my grades and they said, wow, you're not accepted. Like, I had a 2.8 GPA and I had a 24 ACT. It's not gonna happen. So I went to Oakton Community College, 2 years. Decided I'm gonna focus full on just getting into U of I, University of Illinois, which is like the flagship school. And I got into U of I. And so 4.0 U of I. Then I started my second tech company and third tech company when I was at U of I. One of them didn't work out. And so that's when I transitioned to the third one, which actually kicked off. It was an augmented reality menu server. And so we basically created 3D models of food. And you could see like portion size, like what's in the food, that kind of thing. And we raised venture capital. We got into an accelerator. We got into all these different things. I had a team of like 10 people that we, managed. So it was a great experience. At the end of the day, I didn't want to do it anymore. And obviously now this is the transition to the next phase of life, which is LA.
Nice. And you moved to LA. Did you sell that tech company of yours?
Yeah, there's not much value to just literally like we made pennies compared to like what we could have made. The tech was the only innovative thing that people could buy it for, and we have not had a buyer yet. We almost had buyers. Grubhub was one of those, and then we also had this guy that wanted to use it for weed in LA, actually, which is really funny. He was going to pay us 70 grand for the software, but didn't work out. So yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to LA, and then what happened in LA?
Yeah, so moved to LA and I decided I wanted to be into real estate. I wanted to be real estate for a while. And I worked what I knew, which is tech, right? So I was a product manager. I was a tech guy at a startup called Avance, and they do Airbnbs. So I was in Airbnbs at 2019. COVID hit and they laid me off. And then I went into this like time period where I tried to go back into corporate, and corporate was just not for me. I got fired 3 times. So 3 different jobs, guys. And I was like, I literally was at the lowest point. I didn't know what my self-worth was. I had to take a bunch of personality tests. I had to figure out, why am I not compatible in these companies? Why am I not being able to succeed? Like, why am I, like what's wrong with me, basically? But I realized I'm just an entrepreneur. It's in my genes. I'm a problem solver. I want to know everything. I can't be an employee and just be dictated, do this, do that. I need to be somebody that creates the vision and acts on it. That's what I learned.
I like that. And what got you into real estate? Was it a book? Was it somebody? Like, you get into LA. I mean, if I go into LA, I think of like, holy shit, all these properties are expensive as hell. Like, what got you into real estate?
That's also what I was thinking. I mean, look, I was around real estate and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I had this like idea that I knew. I think the statistic that 90% of millionaires are made in real estate. And I was in a place where I was competing against the smartest people in the world in tech. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go into real estate where it's a proven method of making money and there's value to these assets no matter what, you know what I mean? And so I went there and I decided I'm going to do that. But then I moved to LA and I realized I can't afford anything in LA. So how do I really get to the next level? And I had all these limiting beliefs. So now it comes to mindset, right? My mindset at the time was, I'm too young. I don't make enough money. These properties are too expensive. And growing up, I learned from this mentor of mine that was just like my friend's dad. I was just around him. He was a real estate developer. He did real estate. And I knew the lifestyle he was living. I saw the yachts that he had, everything. He had the whole 9 yards. We were sitting on his 120-foot yacht in Miami. And I literally asked everybody at the table what they did. And all of them had jobs, maybe high-paying jobs like lawyers and things like that, real estate, whatever. But I think the most common thing is that they were all investors, either in real estate or businesses. Once I learned that, I was like, okay, this is the way to do it. But he taught me, he said, if you want to invest in real estate and go out of state, like remote investing, you're the dumbest idiot. Like, don't ever do that. So my mindset was, I cannot invest out of state. Why? Because I didn't believe it. I thought you couldn't do it. Right. So that was where I was at.
Okay. And now, how'd you get your first property? While you're while you now you know, hey, real estate's a game. Real estate's how you make money, and real estate's what's going to change my life. How'd you get your first property?
Yeah. So at first, my plan was just to save up enough money for a property in LA. But then what happened was I saw other people that were buying out of state and doing it from California. And I realized, oh my God, Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, 90% of the investors are remote. What the heck? Why can't I do it if they can? Right. And so that was like the limiting belief one, poof. Then I started seeing other investors that were younger than me buying properties, using other people's money. So now money, poof. The amount of people, like how old you're supposed to be, poof. All that stuff, like it disrupted my whole mind being in a community of people that were taking action, that were killing it. And that just were just like people that are listening to this podcast, hopefully you're inspired to see like, okay, well, this guy didn't have money. This guy lived in an expensive state and he made it happen. Why can't I? You know? And I think that's the big thing, is like being able to break down those limiting beliefs.
Okay. And did you buy your first property at the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah, you asked a few times. Yeah,
no, you're good. You're
I
good.
did. I did. So I bought my first property. I went out of state. I went to Smoky Mountains, Tennessee.
How'd you fund it?
And sorry?
How'd you fund it?
That was the first deal. I funded 10% down. I vacation home loan. And it was low interest rates, and I somehow got approved for $350,000, and I just bought my first rental.
Nice.
That was it. Yeah.
And then what was your plan? Was it, oh, you got it? Because this is what happens to me when I get it. I got it. Yeah. I'm excited. And then now that I realized after I signed the dotted line, like, oh shit, now I got to put in the work. So what work did you have to do to your property to get it rolling to start making you money?
Yeah. So there was a few things about this deal. Look, I mean, they were making $33,000 on this deal the last year. I made $60,000 for my year, right? The only difference I really made, yeah, obviously there's a little bit, like I had seller credits for specific things like the roof and all that. But the thing that really I spent the money on was marketing, getting really high quality photos done, the automation with pricing and all that kind of stuff set up. So systems in place. I ran it like a business and I marketed it really well. And I knew I had to capture people's attention, and I put red in the photo to make it differentiated. And I really just focused on spending like $2,000 to like make this completely different product, 2x the product in 1 year.
I'm guessing you learned a lot of that from your tech business, right? Where you got a lot of your marketing skills.
Yeah, tech, marketing background. It's the most important skill in short-term rentals is marketing. You're running a business. And also just being at Avance. I used to work at Avance. So they had 1,000+ Airbnbs. So, I learned everything that I needed by working as a product manager there, as a tech guy. So, yeah.
Nice. And when you got the marketing part, when you got everything done, how much did you expect to make, or what mistakes have you made on that property?
Yeah, I made quite a bit of mistakes. I think the first one was I didn't really know anything about contractors, so I overpaid for contractors. I paid a general contractor, and it was a lot of money. I also lost money with like not understanding. Like I bought it sight unseen. I never saw it. I mean, like you always make mistakes with these properties, right? Like I bought it. I put in my first offer and I did an appraisal gap, and my appraisal gap was $20,000. I didn't realize that $20,000 would come cash out of pocket. If the appraisal didn't hit in the right place where it did, it got $2,000 over what I paid. So, or what my offer was, meaning I didn't have to put any like down like with cash, but if I had to, it would kind of screw up the numbers. And I didn't realize that when I put in the offer. I just knew that it was a tough market and I just put in a strong offer in. So things like that, like you always learn by doing. And honestly, those are small mistakes looking back at it, because think about it now, like this property is generating so much money. It's probably worth $400,000. Over $100,000 of cash just sitting there. I mean, it's a steal of a deal, you know?
And did you partner with anybody for that property?
No, that was just completely me. It
Nice.
was, I got qualified with W-2 income. It's from my previous businesses. I had the money and I just invested it.
Nice. And now, what about your next property? How'd you get that one?
So at this point, I was working some other job. Again, was probably going to get fired. I don't even know. But at this point, like I was like, you know what, before they fire me and I have 4, fires on my list, I might as well just quit while I'm ahead. Right. So I bought the property and then 4 months in, I quit. And I'm not telling everybody to quit their jobs, after 4 months of owning a property. I was making $2,000 a month and I realized this should be enough. I'm okay. I'm going to go full force into real estate. And I met this guy named Josh Rudin who was flipping houses. Now I had one Airbnb. He wanted to get into Airbnb. He was a house flipper. He's flipped over 100 houses, 10 years of experience, 30-year-old guy. We're the same age, more or less. I mean, I'm 26, he's 30. So I decided, you know what? Let's just partner up and let's do this thing. So now we do bursters in Joshua Tree. And we've bought 5 additional since I quit my job. And now I manage 20 on top of that. That's where I'm at. So 1 Airbnb last year to today, 6 Airbnbs and own, and then manage 20 for others.
Nice. So you basically
using all of other people's money.
Nice. You basically use a lot of your skill set towards other people. Like, hey, how can I use my skills of, hey, I do Airbnbs. I know how to manage them. Let me see if I can manage other people's Airbnbs and get the private money to fund even my own Airbnbs.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how you scale.
Okay. Now, what are some tools and softwares that you would recommend for people that are trying to do Airbnb and they're trying to scale with their Airbnb?
Yeah. So, so now I own a full-on property management company. I actually bought the property management company recently. So I could talk about that deal as well. But all in all, like the way that we structure things is we have everything in one market, super easy. At the bare minimum, you should have one, which is the PMS, which is a property management soft system, which basically automates all of the guest messaging. And it does a lot of the coordination. It's a central platform that gets sent to all the other ones. So it maintains the same data that goes to VRBO, Airbnb, direct booking website, that kind of thing. So it's like the brain, right?
And then what do you use for that one?
I use Hostfully.
Hostfully?
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of people use Hospitable. That one's a good one, good beginner one for sure. I started with that. And yeah, that's the first thing. Second thing, you got to make sure you have pricing optimization. So that means dynamic pricing. So the it changes depending on the time of year and it automatically changes. So I set it up. I have my parameters. I set up the pricing and then I let it go. Now, number 3, you need to make sure that you have a guidebook. I really like guidebooks because it limits the amount of questions that come in from guests. Guests are going to ask the same questions over and over again, and you're going to get so bogged down with all these questions. Like you should only be working with the hardest of the hardest questions. So guidebooks solve that issue. No problem, right? Now that you have the guidebooks, you have all the systems working together. Once you really start taking things on, well, actually, let's talk about 2 other things. I manage all these properties remotely. So to manage these properties remotely, you got to have a door lock, like a smart lock. Those smart locks are just, I use how do you say it? Schlage.
How do you spell that?
Schlage. I don't know how you pronounce that, but
Escalage, door hardware. Yeah, I really don't know.
I get the on code. The August lock is really good too. The Yale August lock, fantastic. So Those are great. They're Wi-Fi enabled. You can literally open the door through your phone. So if some guest is locked out and they can't get in with the key code, boom, you're in. So it's really nice. And on top of that, it also allows you to change the door codes. So you can change it for cleaners, for guests, that kind of thing. So super good for like safety and all that. Then you have the camera, which I use Ring. So Ring camera helps you like in case there's a liability, like somebody's throwing a party or something's happening. Then there's optional ones, depending on how big your property is. I like to use Noise Aware. Noise Aware is pretty much it when noise gets above a certain decibel, which is like how sound gets measured, then you can pretty much get a notification. And then you can notify them, hey, can you please keep it down or whatever, in case you have neighbors that could call the cops. So it helps with like the regulations in the area and like stopping parties and stuff. But there's one that's even cooler than that, and that a lot of people don't know about. It's called Party Squasher. Now that one is connected to your internet, and the moment that it measures how many devices are in the house. So even if people are having a party and they're really quiet, you can literally figure out, oh my God, there's too many devices in here. Like this is not right, connected to the Wi-Fi. So, or like asking for the Wi-Fi. So it's like, okay, there's definitely a party going on, you know? Mm-hmm. So things like that. Yeah. And then once you get really like more into technical stuff, like me, I have all of my in-house cleaners. I have a bunch of cleaners and I have, 26 properties, right? So I need to make sure I coordinate all the maintenance, all the cleaners. I have in-house maintenance people. To be able to do that, I have a system called Breezeway. Breezeway essentially does all of the all of the scheduling of all the cleans and all the scheduling of all the maintenance tasks.
So you don't use Turno?
So Turnover BNB?
Yeah.
It's Turno now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to use Turno, but the company that I bought uses Breezeway. I'm actually really good friends with Mike, so he's probably going to kill me for shouting out Breezeway, but I'll make it up to him.
And okay, so you got all this set up. How would you recommend somebody to scale? Let's say they got, let's say they're house hacking their duplex, right? And they're Airbnb their one of their units, and they're like, man, Patryk, do I really need all these tools, whatever, just to run it? Maybe I don't. Like, I could just peek over, but I really want to scale up to this. Like, how would you recommend them to scale?
Yeah. So, I mean, I recommend the systems from the get-go. Like the systems from the get-go, these are the things you do. Like if you really want to scale this into a full-fledged business and actually sell it one day, because a lot of people do sell it. You basically start with just the PMS. It's hospitable. It costs $25 a month. Mm-hmm. You have Price Labs. Price Labs costs like, I think $25 a month too, somewhere around there. You have Ring camera, and then you the door lock. That's all you need. And then you can run it, So that's like bare minimum. Like it just makes it so much easier. So you don't have to like really spend crazy amounts of money. Mm-hmm. From there, obviously, as you scale, you can start adding things like Slack, which is like the communication platform with all your cleaners and all your owners, depending on if you have owners or not. Things like that, like like QuickBooks, accounting software, and all that. Honestly, for QuickBooks, an easy way to have a free accounting software for if you're worried about accounting, Stessa is a good one. It's assets backwards. Stessa. It's fantastic. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I heard of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I used that before I got into QuickBooks. But yeah, I mean, you don't really have to do it that expensive. You could just do it from the get-go. But the one thing that really helps from the get-go is having a property sheet. So literally having like all the different questions guests could ask you, like about the lockbox, whatever. And you have different like rows. And for all the columns, those are different properties. So you have one column in the beginning, right? And over time, once you get more properties, you start filling it out so that when you get to like 5 or 6, you can have a virtual assistant come in and handle all of that. The guest communication, the coordination, the social media, all that kind of stuff. So we have 2 right now, but we're hiring 2 more. So we're gonna have 4 virtual assistants that do guest communications and that kind of thing.
Okay. And these for the lockbox and everything, how would you what would you say the total cost, the monthly cost would be for you versus someone that's starting out? For like you said, like you need the basics, versus the advanced people. So, what are the monthly costs looking like, just for
Yeah.
having all that?
Yeah. For people that are just starting out, it's going to be around like 50 or $60 a property starting out.
Hmm.
So that's kind of more or less what it is. And then once you get to like my level, like you're going to be spending, I mean, per property, I don't even know, but I'm guessing more like $200 per property, somewhere around there. But we also have like full accountings. Well, it might even be 300 because we have full accounting for every owner, that kind of thing. So it's like bookkeeping is a lot of money, you know, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But the properties, I mean, actually, you see, I don't even know like if it's 200. I think it'd just say $200 a property, but it's probably even less, honestly. But what I do know is that the properties generate so much money that it covers all that. It's crazy. It's like Airbnb, you get so much more revenue coming in where it really makes sense to, you know, have all
And
that.
what would you recommend for someone that wants to start managing other people's Airbnbs? Like, let's say, scenario, they have like the same scenario. They have their duplex, they're managing their own property, but they don't have the funds or whatever to uh go ahead and get another property to Airbnb. But they know that they know other people have Airbnbs, and they're thinking, oh wait, I can manage theirs. What are some I guess you have the tools already, but what are some other um skills or whatever you need to actually run other people's Airbnbs?
Yeah. So I think to run other people's Airbnbs, it's really, if you're starting out and you have no Airbnbs, you have no Airbnb experience, this is what I would do. Step one, get really good at Airbnb stuff. Start listening to people's podcasts. You can listen to my podcast. You can listen to Nova, like whatever it takes. Just start getting educated, right? That's the most important part. Once you start getting educated, then step two is finding an owner and doing networking. So just consistently going to networking events, reaching out to other owners and try to get an owner on board to take for you to manage their property. These are really big properties, are expensive,
Mhm.
but like these owners need to trust you, but develop those relationships and say, hey, I'll manage it for free. If you don't like it after 3 months, we can start charging 15% introductory. If you don't like it, then you can, you can say no to me.
Mhm.
Now, after those 3 months, you actually, first of all, it's hard to even leave. If somebody else is managing it for it, it feels good. Like, oh, wow, this is so easy. And they're more than willing to give you the 15%. But if they don't, then you have a case study that you can use to give to other people and say, look how much money I made this person on Airbnb for what I did. And you can actually use that to get clients. So now you get clients and you start reaching out to people. One of the best ways to get clients is realtor relationships. Hands down, every time. All I have right now, I have such a strategy where I literally set relationship like, hey, you're my realtor, you don't go to anybody else, I'll give you this kind of price. And it works. I give them 10% in perpetuity of what we make. That could be a lot of money. Like,
It
let's say
is.
we make $500,000 a year off all the properties that they send us. For doing nothing, we make, let's say 20%. We make 100 grand. And she or he would make 10% of that. So, I mean, that's 10 grand for doing pretty much nothing,
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. Like you have to really, and in perpetuity too. So like every year that we make money, they make money. So it's like thinking about those win-win situations. How do you get people to really send you deals? How to really scale, and then from there, you own the market.
Yeah. And what would you so how would you like to share how much you're profiting off of all the properties after all the expenses monthly?
Yeah, so that's a hard number right now. I'll be honest, I've literally not even done my taxes for last year. So I am so behind. And I want to answer that question. I have people asking me, but gross, let's just say in December for just me and my partner's properties, my business partner's properties, we made 50K gross
For December.
for December, 1 month. It was a good month.
And what
But
are the splits like?
well, me and my business partner 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 25K. I mean, after we need expenses in there. I don't know the exact expenses. I don't want to shoot out a random number, but
Mm-hmm.
we're doing well. We're doing good.
Yeah. And what are, I guess, like a lot of people, you hear this a lot. Oh, Airbnb is going to suck this year. You see a lot of people making YouTube videos about it where Airbnbs, oh, this is when they're going to fail. Oh, what if there's another COVID? So how do you plan on those type, like, what is your contingency plan for those type of situations?
Look, I mean, people are always going to install fear. And honestly, look, look, this last year, people said COVID was the one time that Joshua Tree, for instance, is my market where I buy all my properties. Joshua Tree is apparently the most saturated market. You should never go into it. That's what people told me. I went in there and apparently it was post-COVID. Like, why would anybody go to Joshua Tree post-COVID? Joshua Tree is now consistently it's the eighth most visited national park in the country. It was 10th before, and now it's eighth. And people are visiting it in crazy flocks of numbers. And it's just getting even more popular. So that's just a national park. That's not just even people escaping to leave LA, right? Like, people always tell you shit. People always say, oh, the economy is crashing, all this stuff. Yeah, well, it was 2021 was post-COVID. It was a horrible time. Interest rates went up. What am I doing here? I'm making money. How did I get 26 units? I went from 1 to 26 in that year while you're out there complaining that shit's not working. There's an Airbnb bust and all that. Great. More business for me, baby. Bring it. Like, I don't care about that stuff because I know that for me, my strategy at the end of the day is like, whether people are in the game or not, like you play poker?
Yeah.
I'm in, I'm in and I'm playing. I want to play it out, and so, like, if you don't want to pay the price to play it out, then don't play it out. Everyone's got a different risk tolerance, but I'm in the game because I can always strategize. I can always back out. I can always, there's a lot of things you can do. You can pivot, So I think really people are just making excuses. And I think times like these, like some of the best markets. I mean, I just acquired recently, we got escrow on a property in Joshua Tree, right? In Joshua Tree. And one of the best deals I've ever gotten. And people think there's no deals out there. People think, oh, it's all crap. Half a mile from the national park, 1 bedroom, but we can convert it on title, but there's multiple houses there. We can convert it into a 5-6 bedroom, potentially 5 bedroom, most likely. It has a full tennis court in the backyard, has a full pool in the backyard. It's going to be, by the time we're done with this renovation, which is going to be a $600,000 renovation, it's going to be worth $1.6 million, right? This crazy property is going to generate $400,000 a year. I got this property because I said, you know what? I'm open to deals. I'm not closing myself off. And I was accepting of the fact once it came up, I was like, I want to check this out. And I snagged it for $560,000. And I was the first one. Other people bid $100,000 for it. So what I'm trying to say is, like, the opportunities are out there, So you just got to find these opportunities. You have to take these properties on and just pivot, like, play when people don't want to play. That's the best time, right?
No, you're correct, because I had this one this gym owner, right? And he's like the top gym owner in Philadelphia right now. And what his strategy was during COVID, all these gym owners, they were like sinking ships, right? He was like, you know what? I'd rather how about this? I'm gonna open up my gym, and you're gonna get fined. So he's like, I'm gonna open up my gym, and I'm gonna allow everybody come in, allow everybody. And all the gym owners like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. And he's like, fuck it. If I'm not making money, you're not making money. So he's getting all the other people. He's stealing like all these other athletes from gyms or whatever, right? And he's like, they like the gyms that weren't opening because they were scared of the COVID, they were losing their um their people, the people that would pay every month. And he just grew and grew and grew. And like you said, the cost will the amount of money that you will make, it'll delete the costs. So yeah, those fines came in, but the amount of people that he obtained after that, he just paid all that off. And now he's doing good
Mhm.
because he took the chance, he took the bullet to go ahead and go against COVID, opening up his gym still. And I'm like, whoa, these are the type of people that you want trying to, like you said, you got to still fight against people that are always chicken little. Hey, the
Mhm.
world's gonna fall down. It's gonna happen. And you're like, well, I might as well keep going. Like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You go back to ground zero. You already been there. You know how it feels. So you can all you can do is go back up from there, and you
Well,
know a lot more.
it's never ground zero. You know what I mean? Like you never go back and lose everything. Like you still
Hmm.
have all your connections. You still have your reputation to some degree. You still have the learnings that you got from that experience, right? Didn't they say, I mean, most big entrepreneurs fail forward, right? I mean, I think Elon Musk failed multiple companies. Donald Trump went bankrupt. I don't know. There's just a lot of people out there that absolutely destroyed it in business just by failing forward, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And for you especially, what do you plan on doing with your real estate now? Or do you how do you plan on what's your biggest goal right now?
Yeah. So my biggest goal right now is, and I have it right here with me. I read it every day. Um, so I want to reach $100,000 a month gross revenue by end of 2023. That's what it says. And the way I'm going to do that is by acquiring more assets to my property management company. And I'm going to consistently get, as well as consistently get my own properties going and optimize and buying more and that kind of thing. But also, I think I really want to do this property management all the way in. I want to make sure that I scale this thing. I make this a full-fledged business, fully operational, with full staff on board, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Nice. And what was your worst Airbnb experience?
Worst Airbnb experience. I get asked this quite a lot. um, today, I mean, every day is a new adventure, right? Like today we had a rat that was dead in the pool. Like shit happens like that all the time. But I think the worst experience on Airbnb, I mean, it's not even that bad. But I had a guest that was peeing off of the roof. I mean, it
Peeing.
wasn't even that bad. It was just stupid. Like I just saw droplets coming from my camera and I was like, what the hell? And this guy was just really drunk. And in my Tennessee cabin, he just peed off the roof.
Wow, what
Yeah, it
the
was
hell?
so weird. It was so weird. So that was like the worst. I mean, look, sometimes things get broken. Sometimes people will like will say, will like, I don't know, call you names and stuff. I mean, it's all part of the business. I don't think that stuff is really that bad. Um, I think yeah, I haven't had a really bad story. I know my friends have. My friends have had people drown in their pools and like had to like literally kid died like by drowning in his pool
Oh
and like
no.
he had like yeah, dude, and it's like freaking lawsuits coming around. It's like, I mean, fuck, that shit sucks. Like that's the stuff. I mean, I got in trouble door knocking. I think the worst story I had ever in investing was door knocking and having a gun pulled on me. That's probably pretty bad. Um, contractors are what I had a contractor smoking meth while pouring concrete, you know? So it's like I've had those stories, but I've never had like a really bad guest story, like a crazy bad guest story, you know?
Hmm.
So
Well, I mean, it's not that
lots.
bad. Whew.
Yeah.
And then now, what would you recommend people to have that kind of mindset shift to entrepreneurship and getting started? That they always complain about, hey, I'm working this 9 to 5, I hate it. What would you recommend for them?
Yeah. I've been there. That's why first I would say, crap, I've been there. I know the feeling. And then I would say, really, what do you want? Like really like figure out your why. What's your why? Why do you want to leave? What's really pushing you? Is it you want the freedom and to do whatever you want at any point? What is that why? And then I really think it's about setting a concrete goal, being like, I want to make X amount of money at this time. I'm very like intentional. That's why I do these notes right here, of all the things I want to do. And I hit all my goal. I mean, for the most part, like 80% of the goals I'll hit. You know, even if I don't hit one or two, that should be okay. But every time I always surprise myself. And so I think people should just really make the goals and start thinking themselves, you know what, like, is your why strong enough? Or is your comfort going to be the thing that dictates what life you want to live? Because we only have one life. There's no other lives there. You know, I mean, you could believe in the afterlife, great. But I'm trying to win right now. I'm trying to have the life I want to live right now. And I think I enjoy the journey. I love it. Look, I'll never go back to that 9 to 5. I don't give a fuck how much you can give me. Like, I am not going back to, you can give me $300,000. You can give me $5 million. You know what's more valuable than that? My time. I can decide today, I'm going to go, and I will today, I'm going to go on a fucking walk because I want to in the middle of the workday, whatever, not in the middle of the workday, towards the end of the workday, 4 o'clock, whatever. I can go on a walk. I can start doing that, and I can go get myself dinner by myself. You know why? Because I fucking feel like it. You know, it's like I love having that freedom. I don't think people realize how amazing that is, right? So I would just say, like, just have the end goal in mind, really know your why, and double down on it. Pan agrees with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Like
job, Pan.
you can pick your own decisions and do whatever the fuck you want, basically. You don't gotta wait on somebody. You don't gotta follow someone
Ask
else's
for
rules.
permission.
Yeah. I hate that so much. Asking
And look,
permission.
there are multiple levels to this, right? Like, when I first quit my job, I was in level 1. I was like, look, I don't have my job, but also I'm barely making ends meet. But I'm not worrying about building somebody else's career. Like, I'm okay with that. Then you have like middle ground where it's like, I'm very comfortable. I'm in a good place. I'm kind of like in the middle ground. Like, I'm comfortable. I'm in a good place. And then you have like the third tier, which I'm not at, which is like, I call it the the fuck you money kind of tier, you know, where it's like, the reason, you know, it's called fuck you money is because if you don't want, like, here's the thing, is like, when you come from a position of, like, some people might be thinking about leaving their job. When you have fuck you money, like, you get to a point where it's like, I don't need this person. I have everything. I have all the resources to do this myself. Like, sometimes you'll be in a bad partnership or in a bad, you know, this business owner is just horrible, but like, you'll stay there and you'll suck it up, or like, you're a bad company and you'll suck it up because you know it's a great paying job and like whatever. Having the fuck you money level is like, what am I doing? Fuck you, and then you leave. Like, that's fuck you money. It's like being able to say fuck you to anything or saying no to things and not having to be worried that you can't feed your family, right? Like, and it's doing anything in your life, being able to get a really nice car because you want a toy, right? Or flying private because it makes more sense, you know, or whatever, making sure your family's life is comfortable, right? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard. It's not hard. It takes time to get to that point, and I feel like you can get to that point as soon as possible. And now we can move on to the ending questions here, Patryk. So if you can go back in time and tell your younger self something, probably your 14-year-old self or whatever, whenever you first started this, what would you like to tell them?
I think there was one opportunity when I was 18, or maybe, sorry, like 16 or 17 years old. I was much more risk averse. And I had this opportunity at the time. It was called like the multiverse. And it was like basically like how to create like worlds that were like more like basically a whole server company that was like more intact, right? And I didn't pivot. I didn't pivot my server stuff. I didn't pivot anything that I was doing. I was just like, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. It works. And because of that, I didn't take that risk. and I missed out on so much money. Let me just say that like I had some the people, the peers that were on the same level as me that took advantage of that made the next year $1 million the next year.
Wow.
And they were younger than me, actually. They were a year or two younger. They were like 13. I think they were 13 years old or 14 years old at the time. Making
Mm.
$1 million as a 14-year-old. I think it was 14. Like that's insane to me. Insane.
That's insane to
So
hear.
and like I didn't take advantage of that at 16, 17-ish, whatever. So if I had to go back and tell myself, Patryk, I would have been like, hey, Patryk, you're freaking young. Take the risks. Do calculated risks, but take the risks. Don't just be stagnant and do the same thing over and over again. Take opportunities when they jump on them and be prepared for them. That's what I would say. You got to get prepared for opportunities, whether it is mindset, whether it is just mentally, just say, I'm ready to. That's why all these like whatever gurus say, oh, like make sure you're open, like these spiritual people say, oh, you're open to accept new opportunities. It does have a point. Like you have to be open to new opportunities, because if you're not open to it, then I was open to the property management company. It came on my desk, and it just like people call it luck. I call it opportunity meets being prepared. I was prepared mentally, and the opportunity came about.
I like
so that's
that.
what I would say.
I love that. And is there any question that you would like to ask your future self?
My future self?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? This is actually very cheesy, but this is really cheesy, but I'm just gonna say it anyways. It's embarrassing. I have a journal, and I've been journaling since I was like, I don't know, like 19, 18. And I just talk about my entrepreneurial journey, like what's going on, what's in my head, how am I thinking. The only rule I have is I can't really mention anything that's like not like, I can't edit it. I have to just, whatever's in my head, just write it down. And so I'll swear, I'll like, say stupid shit, I'll forget things, whatever. But I think the most interesting thing is I call my future self Pat, and I speak to him all the time. So what I would tell myself, I tell myself all the time, I tell myself, hey man, I'm making this life, I'm making these sacrifices, like make sure that you keep giving back. Like I see these people that are not giving back. Like I want to make sure that you do that. Like, things that I see in my life as somebody that is going through the growing stages and not there, haven't made it, whatever, to the high point of like, fuck you money or whatever. And I want to make sure that I tell myself every day, like, this is something I don't want to do. I don't want to be a bad father, or I don't want to do this. I've observed this, and I don't think that's like something we should be doing, right? And I want it to come from the child me, right? Because then it feels like I'm talking to myself in the future. It's like I Patryk am okay, like me as a younger self, I would rather have a father, that did this, or I'd rather have, it's like, then I take that into account. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's probably these observations come from a different mindset. So I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I know.
No, it's because I do the same thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I read the book. What do you call it? There's a horse on it. I forgot what it's called. But someone recommended it to me. It's like the amount of people in your head, that you're always consistently have. Like I have my old self, right? My younger version of me, where it's like, hey, what's his dream, right? You want to have your kid like dream back, where, oh, I wanted to do this when I was a kid. Oh, I wanted to go to Mars. I want to do this. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to have that imagination still. And I talk to my future self, like, bro, am I doing the right thing? Am I, what do I want for you? How can I make your life better? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're probably looking like, I forget what his name is. Matthew McConaughey. He said, hey, the person that I look up to and I dream for is the person that's 10 years ahead of me, right? That the future me that's 10 years ahead, because I'm always trying to be like him. I'm trying to chase after him, but I can never get up to him. But when I get to where he was, he's already 10 years ahead of me. I'm just keep chasing, trying to get better, trying to make him proud. And it's like, whoa, I never thought of that. And then I have different people in my head where I call it the beast, where it's like, hey, this person, the beast, he talks like, I call it the mama mentality as well, where it's like it shits on you. Like the David Goggins, right? Well, you should be doing push-ups, bitch. You should be doing this. I don't use it like um in like a regular day basis. I only use it at the gym, right? There's only different scenarios where, hey, it's competition, or whatever. Don't be, you have to push yourself to get further. Uh, and then there's like, uh, so many other ones I just can't think of. I wrote them down in a journal. I drew pictures what they would look like. Another one would be like, Resistance by Stephen Pressfield, where he would describe this person as like people quote as the devil, resistance, whatever. Basically, someone that's like, hey, don't do that. All right. Don't do that. You don't have to do real estate. Airbnb sounds bad. Don't do that.
Mhm.
You it's like your internal bad guy in you. So you kind of be like, hey, whatever he says, you do the opposite. If he tells you, hey, don't go out for a run, it's too early, you go out for a run. He tells you, hey, don't do those property managers. You know, what if someone dies in your property? No, don't do it. You don't follow
Right.
his rule. You go ahead and do yours. So there's so many different people in your head. Almost kind of think of that movie Split, where you just changing it to different people at the same time. But you're right about talking to your future self in a bit. And I do recommend a lot of people journaling. It's like the best thing ever. Marcus Aurelius done it 3,000 years ago. You can do it. All you
Mhm.
need is paper and pen, and you can uh, write whatever, right? You can draw whatever. You can,
I just do it on my computer too. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You
yeah.
can, if the computer is easier, typing is easier, then do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do it in a physical copy just so like I can,
Yeah.
um like I have a table of contents too, so I can go back to it whenever I want, and it's just a lot easier. Uh but yeah, is there a secret sauce that you believe causes success?
No.
No.
Well, okay, here's the secret sauce. It's not even fucking secret. What success really is. And when people ask me for advice, I literally tell them this. I'm like, dude, do the things that you know you should be doing, but you're avoiding doing. That's what I tell people.
Mm,
Because when people come to me, they already know what they want to do or what they should be doing. They're just looking for some secret sauce or whatever. There's no fucking secret sauce. You gotta, people tell you the same shit over and over again. Just listen, either do it or don't. Like, stop getting off of the feeling of, oh, I'm learning or I'm growing with this community and then not doing anything. You know, it's like, you know what you should be doing. Go take action.
yeah, you're right
You
about
know,
that. A lot of people they know it's not about what you don't know, it's that you're just not taking action. That's why I hate going, not that I
exactly.
don't hate, it's like a lot of people, hey, you should go to this meetup, you should go to this. I'm like, man, I go to like, I don't want to keep like I see some people they go to like a meetup every single day. I'm like, that's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort to do all that. Why not just go ahead? Yeah, you can meet deals or whatever, but you don't do that. Like them specifically, they don't go do that. They just go and talk about whatever. You can spend that time actually doing stuff, actually
A lot
taking
of people
action.
talk. People say, "Oh, like what have you been working on?" Oh man, let me tell you, like this crazy thing I'm working on. It's like, wait, the same thing you've been working on for the past year?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I'm
I
like, how many units do you have? It's like one. It's like, okay, great. Well, I have 26 because I take action and I
Mhm,
do stuff. I don't just sit around. I always have an intentional action plan, you know?
mhm. Yeah, that's all. That's perfect because a lot of people they oh my god, it does annoy the the shit out of me where people are like they have the same goal or they haven't done it. I'm like, and they're because they're afraid of the outcome, right? They're afraid that oh I might fail. Like, don't be afraid of failure. Just don't try to fail. If you keep putting failure in your head, you're gonna fail. But if you think you're gonna succeed, then it's gonna work. Like right now, we just got a wholesale. Like my JV partner, we just uh we just wholesaled a property today, and he was like, "Man, we're just gonna make $500 out of this." I'm like, "Nope, we're not. We're gonna make a good amount of money because I can find a good buyer." We found a buyer, and we're making 10K out of this.
Yep.
And it's like he's like, "Bro, how'd you?" I'm like, "Because." If you believe you're going to make $500, you're going to make 500. But I know that this property I can make more than 10K, and I
Right.
made 10K out of this. And what a lot of people they like to like I make some mistakes too. Like I do the same thing where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do that. And I see somebody else doing it, and they're getting a lot of success. I'm like, why haven't I done that? Oh, because I kept on analyzing the bad things that could happen that will cause me not to do it, but I never analyze the good things that might happen and that will cause me to keep moving forward with it. A lot
Right.
of people think of the bad stuff about it. And do you have a quote that you live by?
Take action. That's my quote. I know it's boring. I wish I could give you something else, but honestly, at this point, like I think I'm just like fed up with tire kickers. I think it's might be a phase for me, but I think people should just take action. And I really, the the amount of lives, like I've helped over a dozen, probably more now, over a dozen students become financially free,
Mhm.
either quit their jobs or live the life they wanted to live through short-term rental investing. And I'll tell you the reason that people, pretty much the people that do and the people that don't, is action.
Mm.
It's so simple, but people don't do enough. They like to learn, but then it's like analysis paralysis, you know?
Yeah. They just don't.
So
They just like stick there, and they feel like they got to know a lot more. But trust me,
exactly.
nobody knows everything.
Yeah.
Nobody. People
You
don't
think
know.
parents, like when you become a parent, you know how to take care of a child?
Nope.
Hell no. You just figure that out.
And you can ask
Yeah.
around. Oh yeah, I'm gonna miss some sleep. I'm gonna miss this. But then when you get to it, you're like, oh my god, this is worse than I
It's
thought.
different. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
worse. And is there any books that you recommend for certain situations that in your life, or certain, or just real estate or entrepreneurship or anything?
I like How to Win Friends and Influence Others. I mean, it's definitely a well recommended book, but that book, I mean, that one's a good one. Another one I really like, look, this is something that I don't talk about often, but I think one of the best things I ever done was tap into my masculinity
Mhm.
and my femininity. So being able to accept who I am as a man and being able to find myself as a man. And I think the way of a spiritual man is, it's good. Or Models, one of those books. Those books changed my life single-handedly. At first it was to chase tail. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, it was to get girls.
Yeah.
But oh man, I realized through the chasing of the girls that you actually don't do it for chasing girls. You do it, everything you do for chasing girls is actually just being nice to yourself and being the best person you can be,
Hmm.
which is like insane. Like I started becoming a lot more goal oriented, right? I started becoming a lot more, went to the gym, started working out, like caring about myself. It's like for women, but at the same time, I think, but then I didn't get women. And then I realized the moment I started doing it for myself and because I want to be the man I want to be, I realized, oh my God, the women came. It's like, it's crazy. It's mind blowing. So the moment I realized, I think men don't really have that, just as a guy, men really don't have that guidance in society. It's really hard. So, we just expect to learn everything on the go.
Hmm.
So I think that book changed my life
Yeah.
personally.
I've read Models. I believe that's also a great book that
Really good. Yeah.
uh people don't realize. Another one is How to Stop Being a Nice Guy. That's another one.
Yep. Yep. I
Uh,
like that one.
uh but my one of my favorite books from the Manosphere or whatever, it's by Rollo Tomasi. It's The Rational Male, where he talks about
Yep.
basically what you should be doing as a guy. You should be I feel like this is level one because guess what? There's men and there's women in the world. So you got to understand that what are some, even Napoleon Hill, people back then, they talked about it. They were chasing tail, like you said. Uh, and if you can control that, you can probably control a lot of everything. Uh,
Mhm.
and for people that just, again, I seen it happen. They'll do all this stuff. And when they get the girl, things happen and they lose everything, or they end their they basically eliminate their life because they did this for the one girl. And I was like, bro, you can do way better if you just treat yourself better. And guess what? If you treat yourself better and level up yourself, you will find that girls are attracted to you because now you experience life, you experience yourself, and you're not trying to experience, because a lot of guys, I'm gonna be honest, they don't know how to grow up. If you figure out how to grow up fast, you'll realize, oh wait, I don't need people. I can live by myself. All I probably need is like a dog or whatever. I don't even need that because at the end of the day, I always tell people what's gonna happen, who's gonna die with you, uh, in that tombstone. Nobody else, just you. So you don't really need a girl. You don't need any of that. They're complements to your life. So figure out that, stop chasing them, start chasing your future, your purpose. And if you can
Yep,
do that, you'll be pretty much successful. Uh,
I agree.
yeah. And uh,
Same boat.
is there anything you like the second last question is there anything you like to tell your mother and father?
My mom and dad, I think they did a fantastic job. Good job, guys. They tried their best. Look, I mean, do I think that anybody's perfect? No. But I think they did a really good thing and they were really good. They weren't, look, I mean, I in the begin in long time ago, I was like, okay, well, I wish my parents were, you know, more of my friends. I've seen like the friend parents, right?
Yeah.
My mom and my dad were traditional.
Hmm.
And we had fun sometimes, don't get me wrong, but it was very traditional-esque. And I was at the time I was like mad because I wanted a best friend. But I think now I appreciate the fact that they were that traditional and I think they raised me right. So
Hmm.
hopefully I make them proud. So we'll see.
No, you made them proud, definitely. And lastly, how can people reach out to you and give back value to you?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If you have any questions or anything, like feel free to reach out. Happy to help or answer anything. You can reach me at Instagram, Patryk, Patryk underscore my last name, SWI. And then at that point it should pop up. So you'll
Yeah.
see it.
That is true. You have a unique name, I'll tell you that for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
Patryk, thanks for coming on. You were amazing.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
No problem.